And welcome to another Cosmology segment. I'm your host, Dan, aka smAsho. And it should be an interesting one, as always, when we're talking cosmology. First of all, what about the unexpected discovery of ancient bones, changing the timeline for when people first arrived in North America by how much? 20,000 years. So this gentleman here, Andrew Somerville, made an unexpected discovery while looking for the agricultural roots of North Americans. It turns out folks showed up here more than 30,000 years ago. First believed to have shown up only about 13,000 years ago. Were cosmic events responsible for the migration of human species across the planet? Well, the answer is probably. If you'd like to read the article, it's on SciTech Daily. And you may argue whether or not this is a cosmology segment appropriate article, but in any case, we wanted to have it on one of our playlists. So at youtube.com/smashamash/playlists, you'll find various different playlists. And we figured we would cover that. Next, talking about UFOs, do not apply your human insanity and stupidity to the concept of extraterrestrials. If the phenomenon that the military has been witnessing is indeed otherworldly in origin, I find it highly doubtful, as does the author of this article, who is, by the way, Caitlin Johnstone. And by the way, shout out to Caitlin Johnstone. Nice job on this article. It brings up important facts about the concept that if somebody is able to travel to our solar system from a different solar system, planet, galaxy, or dimension, or universe, or multiverse, or whatever you'd like to call it, why would our logic apply to those entities? I think it's a ridiculous idea that it's dangerous, as if super advanced civilizations wanted to wipe out mankind, why would they not just do so? Why would they have not done so ages ago? Anyway, I'm just letting the article scroll here so you can have a read if you like. Feel free to pause the video. It's the beauty of video on demand. We'll be here when you get back. What do you think about the Tic Tac? Leave us a comment. If you know anything about the Tic Tac aircraft, there are links in the video to it. Personally, I think it's man-made technology. Whether or not it was actually made recently or not, who knows? Perhaps it was some sort of ancient civilization that built this technology. Maybe modern man reverse engineered it. Anyway, the title of the article is "Drivers of the New UFO Narrative Keep Absurdly Saying They Could Be Dangerous Extraterrestrials." Ooh, leave us a comment if you're scared and spooked by the phenomenon the Navy has been witnessing off the coast of San Diego. China has created an artificial sun, setting a new record in their fusion reactor, a new type of tokamak, producing temperatures of 120 million degrees. It's believed that if this technology can be harnessed within about 3 decades, it would have some sort of a benefit to mankind's energy production process. I think that's way too long to wait. But in any case, turns out that 1 liter of seawater contains enough deuterium to produce energy equivalent to 300 liters of gasoline. So another great article here about the advancement of technology important to mankind, and cosmology relates. As you can see here, creating artificial sun, setting new world record at 120 million degrees. Next, we've got another article here from phys.org in their astronomy and space section. What if the black hole at the center of the Milky Way galaxy, which I usually refer to as a massive radio source, what if the, quote, supermassive black hole, end quote, was made of dark matter? Yes, dark matter, believed to dominate the universe's mass. Demonstrates a fundamental misunderstanding of the intrinsic properties of things like stars, galactic cores, and other massive objects in space. Anyway, somebody's made a model that largely maintains the type of motions that we see at the core of the Milky Way galaxy. where they've replaced Sagittarius A star, the massive radio source at the galactic core, with dark matter. I think it's a little on the silly side. It's on the silly side, not to be confused with psilocybin. Next, looking at a galactic globular cluster. It's located in the Milky Way galaxy. And what's interesting about this one is it's full of a range of stars. You can see all kinds of different colored stars in the imagery here. You can see blue stars. You can see red stars as well. And this globular cluster is NASA's astronomy picture of the day. It's known as Omega Centauri. So it's located at about 15,000 light years. It's packed with about 10 million stars. And the globular cluster is about 150 light years in diameter. Omega Centauri, today's astronomy photo of the day. If you want to check out the astronomy pictures of the day yourself, you can find those at apod.nasa.gov. We picked a random number for your viewing pleasure, and today's random number is a quasar, number 1044 on the Neil Gorell Swift Bat X-ray Observatory. Here is that quasar, a distant active galactic core. So this massive radio source at the core of this galaxy is oriented in a specific direction, which makes it look like an elliptical galaxy. Really, we can't tell what the shape of this galaxy is because of the orientation of its galactic jets, which are oriented directly at us, the viewer. Now, the infrared light does give us a little bit of a perspective on this. So there's the imagery from the 2MASS. Again, this is object number 1044 at the Neil Gorell Swift Bat X-ray Observatory. And it's not showing up in on the Chandra or the XMM multi-mirror project. It does show up in blue light. There it is in blue light on the DSS-2. And there it is on red light on that same DSS-2. And you can see some differences there in the blue versus red spectra. Does it show up on Spitzer? It does not. Anyway, we'll just show you another view on the 2MASS, a very high-resolution view of this deep portion of space, which is largely empty except for that galaxy. So this one is known as PMN J2345-1555, J2345-1555. There are the X-ray output. There is the X-ray output of this quasar, this active galactic nucleus. And we've got data from the past about 16 years on that. There's the 30-day chart of the X-ray outputs from object number 1044 at the Neil Gorell Swift Observatory. NASA's to send 2 new missions to study the, quote, lost, habitable, end quote, world of Venus. So I find Venus to be much more interesting than Mars. It's also closer, and it's much more rich in terms of its atmospheric chemistry. So two missions, one called the Da Vinci, which is the Deep Atmosphere Venus Investigation of Noble Gases, Chemistry, and Imaging. As well as the Veritas, which stands for Venus Emissivity Radioscience INSAR Topography and Spectroscopy, will be headed to Venus to gather some interesting data, we think. And I'm excited about these missions, as again, unlike douchebag Elon Musk, I am interested in the planet Venus, less so the planet Mars. I find Venus to be a more likely place for life to exist, and people refer to Venus as an extremely hot world, and indeed that is true for the sun-facing portion. The non-sun-facing portion is actually quite cold, so while the atmosphere is hot enough to melt lead, and while the atmospheric chemistry is sufficient to produce sulfuric acid rains, the dark side of Venus is actually very cold, and the day-night terminator takes nearly an entire Venusian year to circle the planet, as Venus's day and year are similar lengths in time. So, super excited about these 2 new missions. The Da Vinci and the Veritas missions to Venus. And last but not least, radio relics in galaxy PSZ2 G096.88 plus 24.18. So what's interesting about this is that these radio lobes, this is about 3 million light years distance. So this is a galactic cluster scale radio lobe coming out of one of these galaxies. And what you're looking at here are radio and X-ray observations. So radio relics are synchrotronic in nature, meaning that you've got synchrotron radiation happening there, which causes a specific type of radiation to be emitted. It's highly detectable. And those two images showed 140 megahertz and 1.5 gigahertz from LOFAR data. That's radio telescope data. Perhaps check out this article, if you haven't, on phys.org's Astronomy and Space section. Fantastic view of these radio lobes. As this galactic core has output a bunch of material, which looks like it's condensing in these areas. Fantastic view of some radio jets there. And that's today's Cosmology segment. Thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to check the rest of our Cosmology segments on our playlist. We're pushing 200 videos in our Cosmology playlist. Cosmology segments findable at youtube.com/smashamash/playlists.